All right. Thank you, Buzz, for the intro. Hi, everyone. A brief background about my experience and what I was doing at Snowflake. So I have been doing the data and AI part for past 20 years. Prior to Snowflake, I was at Cloudera, helping all our customers, including Fortune 500 customers, building up their large-scale data lakes and data warehouses. And at my current role, I was responsible for building AI workflows for GTS org within the Snowflake, where we are improving and managing all the customer satisfaction. It's basically, like whenever a customer opens up a support case with Snowflake GTS team, so they work on the case and then they'll fix the problem. And we send out a survey link. Basically, it goes out to the customer contact, asking them to fill out all the information like how was the experience, what do you think about the customer engineer technical capabilities or the product features, or like any other areas for improvement or something like that. And most of the times we receive all these feedbacks back into our system. We ingest all this data. It is about like thousands of feedbacks that are coming in every week, and we have a pipeline that we built from the survey platform that brings in data into our internal Snowflake implementation, and it ingests the data automatically. Once the data is ingested, then what we are doing is that, so our main key goal here, even for the VP and other leadership team, they wanted to understand what are the pain areas that the customers are facing, what actually they are talking about our product, our customer service experience, so on and so forth. They can prioritize everything as per the like the customer expectations and improve overall customer satisfaction. That's the use case. And what we did was, like earlier, we used to dump all the data from a Snowflake table. As I said, like we are ingesting all this data into a Snowflake table. And once we dump the data into a spreadsheet, we used to have a team of people who goes through all the feedback line by line and classify that feedback as a positive, negative, and neutral, and also understand what the customer's pain point or the what the customer is trying to like share with us. Like, is it a product issue, or is it a technical issue, or is it a customer service engineer issue, whatever they wanted to say, right? Or do they think like we don't have official and sufficient documentation to solve the problem or something like that? So it's a kind of a manual work. It takes like about weeks of time to go through those thousands of feedbacks every time and classify them line by line. That's the first challenge. And the second challenge is that, like people used to have a different opinion. Somebody can see a feedback as a neutral. At the same time, some other person can see it as a negative. Or if I classify a feedback as a product problem, but my teammate could classify it as a service quality problem or something like that. So it varies from person to person, right? That's also a biggest problem. Let me share my screen. Let me share my slides. So I have created this. I published an article on open source. We love open source, ATO, all things open, on this exact thing. And then I used Notebook LM to prepare the slides from that article. Let me know if you guys are able to see my screen. Okay, I assume, yeah. Okay, I see some thumbs ups. Okay, thank you. All right, so let me go to the second one. So as we all know, like we are going through a massive transformation with the AI, and we are hearing like yeah, yeah, Notebook LM is like pretty neat and clean. I love it, and whenever I need some something for research or something, then I go. It's my kind of a go-to tool. Um, yeah. So basically, what I wanted to say here is that we are moving to from a new kind of an world where uh, we are using AI to bring insights from everything, right? It's not only a customer satisfaction survey, or it's not only from like the support tickets or something like that. Wherever possible, we are plugging in all these LLMs and doing some wrapping up on top of those LLMs, and like using our internal data and then pulling all the insights. So that's the era we are right now, and it's more of a proactive rather than reactive, because like AI is giving us a capabilities, like enormous capabilities when it comes to personalizing the stuff based on the persona and their interests and their previous history or whatever we have in the system, by like intelligently automating everything from end to end and sharing the predictive insights back to the teams. So there are like several use cases. Bose and I was talking about all the use cases that we have implemented, especially in the Snowflake side. One of the use cases, as I talked about, is the CSAT processing, the feedback processing, and deriving all the classification. We have also another use case where we have plugged in AI into our support systems. Let's say if a customer service engineer is working on a on a technical case, the AI is helping them to like doing a review of everything, and simplifying the things for the agent, the CSE, the customer support engineer, to go through the issue quickly and then provide the solution. It will also share all the relevant KB articles or the previous cases and the solutions what we have put together, that kind of a thing. So that's the second use case where the AI is being heavily used, and it's pretty useful. I mean, it's a saving like a numerous amount of time for all our support engineers. That's another case, and also like we have an internally built agents, specifically designed for sales teams and also designed for any analytics queries or something like that. A text to SQL kind of a thing, right? Where we simply ask a question in the natural language, and the Snowflake analyst. It's again an internal Snowflake AI feature. It's also available to the customers, and it builds a semantic model on top of the data, and we can fine tune it. We can like add more business definitions, and like identify the dimensions, identify the metrics, identify the timestamps and everything, and then also can supply some of the sample questions. So it will automatically convert everything, and then shares the results. One good thing with that use case is about, like it clearly shows the SQL in front of on the screen, so that we know exactly what it is doing in the background and what's its thought process, and then it automatically executes and share the results. We can also like change the SQL, whatever it is generated by the semantic model, and then we can execute it as well. I mean, to get the results, everything, right? It's kind of a gap, bridging the gap between BI and like the heavy rich dashboards, that kind of a stuff in a natural language. That's another use case that we have done heavily. All right, so let's go ahead. But before deep going further, let me stop here and see like if you have any feedback or any questions or comments. All right, I'll continue. So the pillar one is like the hyper personalization that I talked about. It's happening at scale. Especially AI has fueled it up pretty much in every industry. When it comes to the e-commerce and retail, it's like adjusting prices based on the customer purchase history, customer browsing history, customer unique shopping habits. Maybe somebody is pretty interested on buying watches or buying shoes or something like that. And maybe it's like checking their history, and in winter, maybe last year this customer has bought like snow boots, like 2 3 pairs of snow boots, and maybe this is the right time again in the winter to show the similar recommendations with adjusting pricing, and like making the customer click and then buy. So that's the one hyper personalization that's happening in the e-commerce and retail. Same with finance, retirement plans, investment plans. Everything is personalized approach. Investment plans based on the customer goals. By like we know this has been there for a while, but with the AI now it's kind of digging deep into the inner meanings of the customer, and understanding the underlying intention of the customer choices, and then like using all the risk tolerance and their goals. It is crafting a personalized investment plan. So that's one use case happening in finance. I know like we have few companies who have already implemented this, like Fidelity. Not sure about Schwab and all, but at least like I heard of Fidelity implementing this use case in their systems. Yeah, and healthcare. I worked in the past for Kaiser as a lead data architect. I know like Kaiser has like 12 million patients. Kaiser Permanente. It's a large scale US healthcare, like hospital chain and company. So they are also using AI heavily for personalizing care at speed with the AI. And it's also like trimming up and everything, putting together a personalized approach, a personalized plan for patient based on their history. Again, their like episodes, looking into their episodes, and their internal management platforms, and sharing that kind of approach. That's a pillar number one that talks clearly about the hyper personalization. So pillar number two is like it's a classic example, right? We all know about this example. We have seen this whenever people are trying to interact chatbots. These chatbots are not like traditional and old style FAQ based chatbots. They have like all the information, including the internal documents, KB articles, or the customer history, and the full transaction details, whatever the customer has done, including the date, time, and the cost associated with each of those transactions, whether they are successful or not, what type of a credit card they used, and what kind of a route they booked, especially for the airline bookings. So it's basically powered by all the data, and plugging together an LLM on top of that, and making a chatbot, and then powering this chatbot with that data, with that AI pipeline, AI workflow. And one good thing is that so it will try to solve most of the customer questions by itself without bringing any human in the loop. But it's also at the same time it also tries to understand the if the human is kind of a frustrated, it kind of identifies that signal, and then tries to transfer to a human agent, and by sharing all the history, right, in a TLDR approach to the human agent, so that they can quickly help and solve the problem. So this is a, as I said, like this is a classic example. So it also tries to blend everything, the automation and AI pipeline, everything with a human empathy, which basically expanding or enhancing the overall customer satisfaction. And people used to love these type of like experiences, right, without getting frustrated if something is happening and they are able to solve. Then we love to go back to the same product or same service again and again. So that's kind of an experience we are seeing with the human touch. So the next one, as I said, like the predictive insights, which I talked about in the previous slides. It's kind of with those signals and everything, even before the problem is happening, we are able to solve it. For example, if there are any issues with the internet, and the packets are being dropped consistently, even before the customer noticing that, the internet company, they can send a technician to the field and on site, and they can solve the problem so without like giving any interruptions to their service. So that's kind of a telecom, SaaS, software as a service products and manufacturing. So these are classic use cases, classic industries for using this type of a technology. Um, yeah, this is a common one, but yeah, the case study is like, as I said, like we used to have a manual classification process in place where it used to take like a lot of human effort, time consuming, inconsistent, and like it's kind of a reactive. But with the using of AI, LLMs, like we have a Snowflake has a, like a lot of AI features. We are calling the platform as a Cortex, Snowflake Cortex. It's kind of a bundle of several AI, like features. Like we are using a lot of LLMs like from different providers like Meta's Llama, Mistral, OpenAI. All the latest models are also available, and also Anthropic cloud models. And yeah, we have pretty much all the flagship models available within the Snowflake environment. One good thing is that with the Snowflake is that everything is controlled by the role based access, right? So it's kind of a highly governed. We are calling it as RBAC, and one should have an access to a particular role, and then the role will provision access to all these models, all these data, and everything, right? So that's kind of a security tightening that we have done within the architecture of these Cortex AI features. So one of the Cortex AI feature is like AI underscore classify, where we can train the model. We can provide, like, let's say I'm taking like a 100 examples, 100 customer satisfaction feedbacks, and 10 of them are product related. So I can say like, hey, this is the product, and here are the examples. I can give it to the model, say that whenever you see these type of examples, you just classify that feedback into a product one. In a very similar way, we have service quality. Again, we have provided like 10. I think we can provide at max 20 examples for each category, and then the model will automatically understands the next feedback that is coming in and then classify it based on the training data that we have supplied to the model. Yeah, it's again using a LLM under the hood, and then using the LLM text classification, classic text classification feature. And like we are not actually controlling any tokens. We're not limiting any tokens here. We are not limiting any temperature here. So it's been done automatically. But one thing is that so the customer will be charged based on all the input and output tokens. So that's one thing they should be aware of, right? I mean, whatever the amount of tokens that they are using, they're being charged based on that. So that's the AI classification engine that we have built, and then we have bring down the weeks of works to hours by simply running. It's kind of end-to-end workflow, which runs like every week on a Sunday night, midnight GMT time, so that it will bring in like all the data which came in for the prior week, and then it triggers automatically this AI workflow, the AI underscore classify that I talked about, and then sends all the data, classified data into a different Snowflake table. And then we have built a dashboard, a beautiful dashboard on top of that data. And the VPs and other senior directors and other leadership team, they are accessing it and then understanding the trend and prioritizing their, workforce based on the needs. And also, one other important benefit that we have seen with this one was now the product and engineering, they know like exactly what they should focus on, what areas they should focus on, and because the feedback is almost instant, it's not obsolete, right? If it is taking weeks, then probably by the time they might have already moved on to a different feature, or fixed the feature already, or maybe in a different way than the customer was expecting. So that was one of the best benefit that the teams have seen inside product and engineering organizations. So which is very, very helpful. It's a kind of a closed loop feedback. where they take action and then they work on the customer feedback and then close the loop there. Um, there are some, as we all know, there are some gaps, some pitfalls that we have to avoid. One biggest problem, I think, I'm also going to talk about the five best practices, the same concept, the data silos, right? So we know that the data is everywhere and it's segregated by like multiple layers, like raw, silver, bronze, gold, or whatever, right? And for the model to work on perfectly on any given data, so before earlier we used to see like 70% or 60% of accuracy, and that is one of the biggest challenge that we observed with the AI classify model, the CSAT model that I talked about. What we did was we analyzed the data completely end to end, and we have seen that there are like a lot of gaps. For example, there are some feedbacks that are coming in non-English text, right? And there are some feedbacks that are very short, and it doesn't give us like any insight actually. Also, there are some areas where we are seeing some blanks or some no feedback, just a rating, right? A 5 on 5 rating, or like something like that. So that's the one of the challenge that we have seen, and then we fixed all those things. We used again the LLMs to translate the non-English to English. Also, we have removed all the feedbacks where we don't have any like text that actually talks about the customer experience. We have removed those records also, and also we removed like and very short, like good, or so sometimes customer don't say anything, they'll just put a dot, or I don't know, maybe something else, or any or something else. We have removed those, and basically it's that's one of the common challenges that we everyone see with the. So before plugging in LLM on top of the data, we need to ensure that the data is clean and neat. That's one of my best practices, the first best practice in the next slide coming up. And also we need to understand while we are training these models, especially as I said, like in this example, we supplied like 20 different examples for the model to understand. So while we are selecting the examples, we need to be very diverse as much as we can, so that the model tries to understand if anything is coming up, and then it knows exactly like, oh, this is what it is, and it gives us the right answer. That also helped us to improve the accuracy. Now I think we are around at 90 to 93% of accuracy. Still, we have a human in the loop who are overseeing the weekly data by picking up some random things and then trying to see if the model is performing well as expected, and giving back the feedback to the model and correcting all those trainings, all those samples, all those examples that the model has been trained on. So that's the bias in training data. And then sometimes the over personalization that also hurts the business, right? Customers may feel like, okay, these guys are like everywhere, and they know exactly what's happening with me, or my history, my browsing history, or whatever, right? I mean, they may feel something. They may not be liking everything, so there has to be a fine line. Maybe like we are not going to touch any of other thing except like our products browsing history, or the previous the timing history when the customer has bought some product, as I given in my example, like buying snow boots in the winter season, somebody who is very passionate about collecting different boots, or different watches or something like that. So that kind of one has to figure out the fine line, and then remove all other data which drags it into the over personalization. That's one key challenge, one key pitfall that one should avoid. Of course, also the change management is its additional thing, right? And people are getting panicked, and we have seen like whenever we say like we are introducing AI into our day-to-day workflows, and of course we see some kind of a pushback, saying like why we want to introduce a new tool or something like that. So navigating through that, especially with large organizations, is a critical challenge. We need to be very, very careful and provide all the necessary training to the teams so that they know like it is going to be a kind of a co-pilot for them and helpful, reducing their work time or something like that. So all these things will be. I'm pretty sure there are like a lot more, but at least like what we have seen is like these are the experiences that I have seen. So these are the five best practices that we have implemented. One is like high quality data, as I talked about. I explained this already. And the second one is like embedding AI into the regular workflows, whatever we have, existing workflows, rather than reinventing everything back from the scratch. Maybe identify the areas where AI will be a good fit, or maybe like build a wrapper on top of the LLMs, and then make sure the LLMs can read the data in a secure and highly governed way, and it try to answer all the questions that are needed to. So it's good to understand, review the existing workflows closely, and then see where AI can actually help rather than doing harm. Third one is keeping a human in the loop to assess the model, to assess the outcome, and like and supply back the feedback to the model or correct the model behavior based on the diverse examples and the complex customer situations, especially. So those kind of things. That's why we always need to have a human in the loop. Even the model is doing its work. As I said, like our workflow is like end to end automated. We actually don't need to have a human in the loop, but we kept a human in the loop just to make sure that the model is doing correctly, and then we are sending the feedback to the model itself. The fourth one is like so these models must be monitored and evaluated and retrained regularly, because we never know like what's changing in the market and the direction that we need to understand. Sometimes it changes pretty fast, right? So the needs will change fast. The customers like behavior may be changing fast. They may be going to a different altogether a different sector or different approach than the one that they used to. So we need to be trying these models carefully by, in this example, maybe supplying a different, altogether a different set of examples, something like that. And the fifth best practice is that it's always being transparent while we are using AI in our products. We have to be upfront with the customers and how we are using AI, and what's being shared with the AI model when it comes to the transactions or the interactions that we have with the customers, so that they are aware of the situation, and then they know like they are in full control. Actually, we should give a like all these LLMs like the Perplexity, Chat GPT, or Gemini, whatever. So they're giving us an option to turn off our personal data to train the model back, right? So that kind of a even little more, right? Especially with the regulated environments, regulated industries like healthcare, banking, and finance. We have seen in the news like yesterday or day before yesterday, somebody has posted everything back into the Chat GPT, which are very sensitive data for the federal government. So those kind of things we need to be very, very careful of. That's one of the best practice, to always turn off the training the model with our personal data. So that same applies to our customers also. So we have to be a little careful. Uh, so yeah, of course, like the future is like proactive, autonomous, and accountable. Like understanding the customer problem even before the customer notices, and then issuing a refund or something like that, or helping them with a article so that they know exactly how to navigate that situation. So that's one of the future that everybody is looking at. Already, I think a lot of companies are implementing this, a proactive and autonomous approach using AI. So yeah, those are the details that I have from my CSAT workflow. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll stop sharing my screen, and then we'll see. I don't know how to stop. Okay. Boss, do you have anything to add, or before anyone?
If you can add more about the impact in the organization, how did you measure the success of that workflow automation?
Yeah, sure. So our key metrics always is like, the amount of time that we are spending before and after with the AI model that we have built for CSAT processing. That's one of the metrics that we have looked into. And the second one is the accuracy. As I said, like initially we had like 62 to 70% of accuracy. And as we train the model with diverse data sets and by cleaning up the data, the accuracy went up. Right now we are at 92%, around 92 to 93%. So that's the second metric that we always looked into. Um, and the third one is third one is the third important one is like the amount of time that is reduced for the product and engineering teams to work on a feature. So they earlier, because earlier it used to take like weeks of time to process these feedbacks, and by the time it reaches to the product and engineering, it's obsolete, right? So now we are able to, the system is automatically able to generate a request for product and engineering, and they are taking it and then they are prioritizing in their backlog, and by reviewing it, assigning some score. If the score is higher, then they'll try to release it in the next release so that the feature is available to all our customers. So that's the third metric that we actually measured, like how fast we are able to ship all these features based on the customer feedback. I hope that answers your question, boss.
Yeah. Mhm. Are you continuing to like improving? What are like the main things that you still see there in terms of accuracy, or maybe probably you didn't uh, automate everything at first. So what are like the next steps and the plan forward to continue to iterate and improve?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, we have a process, the process in place. It's a biweekly review process. So what we are doing right now is that we are because we are already measuring the metric, so we are taking the metric and then like we are trying to see if we need to like supply even more diverse examples to the model for certain category, and then we are training the model in a lower environment, and if we see a good result there, then probably we are trying to like push those changes to the production model. Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we have a bi-weekly review in place where we are measuring the accuracy. It's kind of seeing like as I said, like randomly looking into, let's say if we have a thousands of feedbacks, like randomly pick like 10 or 20 or 30 feedbacks and see like with a human eye, understand that the model is actually like predicted the right category for the feedback. And then out of those 20 30, we used to come up with a number. Let's say out of 30 we have seen like 20 to 24 or 25 is good. Maybe we are saying that into a percentage calculation, right? And then next time if we are seeing that that is dropping, then what we are doing is that we are trying to like understand, especially for a particular category, we are trying to filter out all the feedbacks for that category and seeing like what's exactly wrong. Are there are like not enough sufficient diversified examples, or the models are not working as expected, or do we need to use any other models or any other flagship models, maybe good at reasoning rather than like coding or something else. So that kind of a thing, right? I mean, we are always evaluating those things on a biweekly sync, and then we are seeing like how to even further enhance. But right now our consistent and average accuracy is above 90%, so which is pretty good, which is like solving most of our human problems there.
What were you able to see in the data that you didn't know about your customers? If you can share some of the findings. I have experience of with some customers that we analyze customers talking with the AI chatbots, and many of the findings were surprising. Those kind of things that we couldn't see before we had the chat in place and before we were able to analyze that data at scale. So I'm curious what some examples that you things that you didn't know and you were able to learn through that process.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the examples that I could give you is like time zone issues, especially like the customers used to complain. The ticket is assigned to a person who is in a different time zone, and it's very hard to coordinate on solving the technical problem, the solving the problem the customer is facing. So that's keep on coming up in our like AI is pretty good at like understanding the whole context and then picking up the right category, right? So that's one of the things that we learned. And also when it comes to like managing Snowflake accounts within the customer environment, customers, we never knew that customers had issues with accessing the documentation on how to do it on a self-service basis. That's one of the things that came up, which we closed the loop. And actually it helped us reduce like a lot of support tickets coming in, right? So earlier for the same type of issue, let's say I'm just giving a random number. Let's say if we have 100 tickets, now after we realize that is something missing and then fixing the gap, now we are only seeing like one or two support tickets because the process is already documented and clearly outlined there, and then made sure that that is available to all our customers, so that they know like where to go and how to get it done. So those are the two examples that I could think of. And also like there are many other feedbacks that came in which were really helpful for the product and engineering teams to prioritize the behavior changes, because ours is a SaaS product running on any cloud. So we are following a monthly release cycles within our company. So we need to know, apart from weekly, we have a weekly cycles, also monthly cycles. The monthly cycles are the behavior changes. So we are able to prioritize quickly and then get those issues solved. Earlier, as I said, like we couldn't able to do that.
Besides the technology implementation, it sounds like you had to implement a human process as well, right? Someone need to actually go learn from the data and let's say improve the documentation or maybe change the product roadmap based on those findings. Like Snowflake is not a small organization, so how did you implement that change in the organization of actually changing a bit the process that people were used to?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So yeah, we are heavily relying on the data that is available to us, right? I mean, I think it's pretty common with any AI model to work cleanly. So we used to, and I mean, we have a process in place, that the pipeline in place, the data pipeline, where like we used to take the data and clean it up, and then as I said, like the data silos are one of the biggest bottleneck for the AI to work on. So we made sure that all the data is available for the model in a high quality, without having any like junk data or unuseful data or something like that. So those kind of once we implement those things, right? So once we made sure that everything is clean and neat and all these challenges are addressed, so now the product and engineering, they are able to like see everything in a common place. And it's kind of putting an LLM on top of all the data after you clean up, and then we can do anything, right? By just like querying the data through LLM, and it is out automatically. As I said, like the Cortex analyst is one of the good example that I could think of, because business users, they never know how to write a SQL, right? I mean, all they know is like just ask a question and then get an answer from the model. And because all this data which is available within Snowflake, and we have the Snowflake analyst. Again, it's powered by LLMs. It's kind of a wrapper, and then we used to build a semantic model on top of the model, right? I mean, on top of the LLMs, like here is the business definitions, here are the metrics, here are the dimensions. Let's say what are the sales revenues for Q4 of last year, something like that. Then the model understands, okay, so this is the dimension. Q4 is my dimension, and the metric is the sales amount. The total sales amount is my metric, and then the timeline and everything it understands, and then it goes back to the data, the underlying data, and then it tries to calculate everything and then bring the answer back to the customer. So that's where like the data is very very useful. That's where like we wanted to, even a lot of our customers are using Cortex Analyst as part of their day-to-day activities for their business users, actually. I think you're talking on mute, balls.
Sorry, I was asking if anyone else want to ask something.
Yeah, I know it's a pretty
Okay.
easy
Yeah.
and straightforward solution, because I think that's the reality of most of the AI implementations, right? So nowadays, I think people are. So Daniel has a question.
Can you comment on AI? I think maybe Gabby has one, and maybe I can read Daniel's one.
Okay.
Gabby, you want to?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Raja. My question is, how did you measure the ROI on this? So you measure the accuracy, you measure the performance, you measure also the people, and it's all very very important. But how do you measure what are the KPIs, and what is the how do you measure it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So one of the important KPIs that it's obviously like when it comes to the amount of time that these humans are spending processing those thousands of feedbacks every time, it's definitely going to take like hours of time, right? I mean, let's say if you put a billing tag for an hour, like let's say $100, and to process 5,000 feedbacks, let's assume that it is going to take like 40 hours or something like that, then it's going to be that much of the amount that is costing to process those. And what happens in case if we put a LLM on top of this data, like in terms of the Snowflake's Cortex AI classifier, and use the model to deliver the same kind of a work, then of course obviously like we will have a very less cost compared to the like 40,000 US dollars or whatever that is being calculated for the human costs, right, or something like that. So that's definitely one of our KPI measuring the ROI. And maybe like we don't need to always have flagship models for processing all these data. We can also live with some of the lower end models, or we can also we have also our internal models, some of our models also. But yeah, as I said, like like leveraging wherever we can and without compromising the quality of the outcome, like selecting a model and those kind of things comes to the KPIs measuring ROI. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problems. Maybe good question actually.
Daniel was asking if you can comment on AI use in your team. How proficient are most people?
Okay, so um, so it's kind of coming to the change management aspect of my talk, right? AI usage, it's kind of if we give like Chat GPT kind of an UI environment where people can go in and type and then they can get the answers right back in because it's a natural language. But to build a AI workflow, one has to understand literally like how to put everything together, right? We know that LLMs are great, so they are doing really good work for us, doing a lot of stuff, heavy lifting, and everything, right? Whatever we wanted to. But building the AI workflow and putting the LLM into work is kind of a big challenge, and that needs some kind of a training definitely, because people need to understand how to plug the internal data into these models and making everything automated to run independently without any manual intervention. So it definitely One thing I would say is like when it comes to proficiency, no, initially like no one is like proficient with all these tools and technologies, especially in our team. But later on, we started learning everything together. I'm fine because I came from the data background heavily, so I know like I understand the value of data and how important it is to have the high quality and governed and like that kind of a thing. But for the most people who are not proficient, even maybe like they need like little bit more training. So we did actually a lot of trainings internally on this prompt engineering, or you call it like building up the AI workflows or whatnot, AI engineer track or something like that. So yeah, initially nobody was proficient, but eventually everybody got used to it, and now they are using all these things internally.
Raja, I have another question from the product point of view. It seems that eventually it's a big project. Now, knowing Snowflake, I assume your data is very organized and your system is very structured, and the data side is defined well. Working as in a startup, and I assume not all and working with different structure of data, not everything is structured, and you need to work hard to have a qualitative data. So I have a question that's split into two. One, did you consider the gap between data organization and the fast AI agent? Meaning, it seems like there is a gap between very fast AI world, agent, LLM, a lot of tools, but at the end, you're working with the organization structure that you need to organize, and then you need R&D, you need engineers, and it takes time. So this is my first question. How did you mitigate this gap? And second, did you start with the approach of MVP? Meaning, do you recommend maybe to start, what is the first step to start, and what is the first deliverable in order to see something?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, let me answer your second question first, and then maybe like then we'll go back to the first question. So the MVP is always always keeping the end goal in the mind, right? So we always wanted to make this data available in a faster way and in a meaningful way to our, if I have to put a mission statement to this MVP, that's our mission statement to our product and engineering teams, so that they can close the loop and bring those features quickly to our customers. And so to do that, I mean, when it comes to the organization of data and like doing R&D, that kind of a stuff, we always need to, as you said, like most of this data, especially the documents, like the unstructured data and everything, like those are like pretty um, tough to pretty complex to bring into a structured and kind of a relational table type of a format, right? So that's where like all these one good thing with the AI is like it's capable enough to read all those documents and then bring it to like answer any questions that we have. And actually there are, like as I said, like when it comes to the semantic model, building the semantic model, we always wanted to focus on the keywords, right? It is like let's say if we've taken like unstructured data, maybe like one paragraph or two paragraph, it doesn't have any format or something like that. We always interested in focusing on some of the keywords, what actually they are talking about. Are they talking about the product experience, or are they talking about the service quality, or slowness in deliverables or something like that, or the professional experience or the communication, whatever. So those are the keywords that we wanted to focus. And if you see those keywords in that particular unstructured data, we actually have that in a bring it to a structured format, saying that, hey, this is the feedback, let's say feedback number one, and these are the different like keywords that are pointing to this particular feedback, so that we give you a score to that particular feedback, the overall feedback, which is an unstructured, so that we know like how important that feedback to us. Because if it is talking again like again like maybe the product experience, or maybe the service quality, or maybe like two three different aspects, then that is the first important feedback that we need to see. So those are the things actually helpful. Again, data is like a heavy emphasis for any one of us, because without having a proper data, we cannot really deliver good results, even if we use flagship models. So does those answer your question, Gabi, or did I miss
Yes.
it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you again all for joining. Thank you, Raja. See you all next time.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was great talking to you, everybody. Bye.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
very much.